Hello, my name is Diane Spencer. I am a stand-up comedian at a particular level in the UK industry. I don't have an agent, I manage my own diary, and I'm not famous. So I can just walk down the street, nobody bothers me. It's quite lucky really, especially when I go for auditions. I recently went for an audition where I was dressed as what I can only describe as Fanny Wonka. When I go to film my 1 hour long comedy specials, I produce them myself, and this video is how I do that. I don't know what that noise was, but it came out of my ear. First on my checklist is a venue. I approached the backyard because I've filmed there before. I did Power Tool in 2015. I've played there a lot. It's a great venue because it's got like a little bar on the outside where people can mill around, congregate, and then it's got the actual main performance room. I love that place. So I contacted Dan and he said, I'd love to have you. I've got a date for you, September the 11th. We agree a time. I am the second show of the day. Before us is the alcohol-free comedy show. They're going to end at 5:30 and then my show begins at 7:30. Before I confirm anything with the venue, I check that my husband is free. This is pretty crucial because he is my right-hand man. He's free, we book it.
Jolly good.
So then I needed to arrange a film crew. I know quite a few people, so I rang round my favourites and I decided to go with Dan. He filmed Exquisite Bad Taste and he knows me, I know him. Let's go for it, buddy. I wanted to change the look of the backyard, but that's quite tricky because it has such a distinctive look. Kevin went in with a tape measure and he measured everything. I went in with my camera and I took photos like I'm in CSI. Kevin thought my photos were strange, but I was like, babe, there's a nail sticking out of this plank of wood. It's important. Now, we only had 2 hours between the show before us ending at 5:30 and us letting our people in at 7:30. So whatever scenery we did had to be able to put up really quickly, and ideally by one person. My plan was to completely cover the pallets. So I needed 21 square meters of fabric. The first layer would be black felt, which would be staple gunned on top of the pallets. We did get permission from Dan, who runs the venue, though he did say if we put a staple through his backyard sign, he would actually kill Kevin, and I believed him. The second layer of the scenery, I bought this purpley pink satin and I wanted to create like a curtain. So I sewed pleats into the top of it, and the idea was that then Kevin stapled this on top of the black felt. And this didn't need to stretch all the way across the stage because I'll act things out and I'll move a bit, but I'm not somebody who jumps around the stage. So I ended up with a purple curtain that covered 3 meters in the middle, the width. And then on top of that, we laid fairy lights that we bought from Amazon for about a tenner. I wanted to create a whole evening of entertainment for people. Yes, you've got my stand-up show, but I think it would be more fun if it was a genuine sort of 2 hour long event with an interval. So I hire 2 of my favourite comedians who also happen to be my friends. I hire Carly Smallman and Sarah Isles, and they are going to host and do the warm-up. I sent like blurb to Dan, who worked at the venue, and he made a web page, so now it is genuinely official. I set up a ticket link using the ENTS24 website. You can join their website for free. I'm not sponsored or endorsed by them. And you can enter what's called the backstage area where you can list your gigs and you could sell tickets. I needed to let people know that it was happening. So I ended up posting on social media semi-regularly in the build-up to it, but then when it was about 10 days to go, I thought I've got to kick this up a gear. I started posting on social media every single day. I had done a photo shoot with a photographer called Nigel R. Glasgow in December earlier. I used the photos from that shoot to sort of get my face out there, get out the date, get out the details. Something that I learned in doing this is that people need several reminders before the idea sinks in. Even if you post like every single day saying, Sunday, my event, Sunday, my event, people will still come up to you and go, oh my God, how did your thing go on Thursday? And you're like, something I didn't mention in my last video about going to the Edinburgh Fringe is that the audience can write reviews of your show. I did receive an audience member review. Too much cock, very rude. Now I liked that, so I put it on my social media. But then people started replying to his review on my show page. So then I think somebody else put perfect amount of cock, and then another review said could do with more cock. And what really brought me sheer delight is that one of the people who follows me on social media made me a poster. Rudica. I think that's going to be next year's show poster. I really do. I love it so much. During the Edinburgh Fringe, I had received a 5-star review. I recommend you watch the video that came before. I really worked my stand-up show into shape, and if you watch that video, you'll see how. I printed out the 5-star review, and I went to the venue where I knew my posters were up. Again, the posters I had designed, printed, and sent to the venue earlier, like a couple of months, probably as soon as we booked the date. And I went round the venue and I went round gluing my stars on all my posters because I want people who go to the venue to, this looks good, like get some foot traffic. Whenever you're doing an event and it's a public event, you are nervous because you're like, what if it's really bad weather? What if there's a tube strike? What if the Queen dies? And she did. The Queen died on September the 8th. It affected everybody, even the people who would not consider themselves monarchists.
Led home by lights of love. Crowds guard of honour as Queen arrives for last night at the palace.
I would say you definitely need to be prepared. You definitely need to...
Marmalade sandwiches.
Marmalade sandwiches, preferably a chair and a flask of hot soup.
A flask of hot toddy.
Ooh, yeah. Something that you know that she'd appreciate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Her portrait was put on every single billboard, every single shop window had a picture of her, every single website suddenly changed and it had a photo of the Queen. It was quite intense. At that point, I started to get really nervous. Different people said to me, are they still going to go ahead with your filming? And at that point I thought, who do you mean they? The venue? And I'd say now there is a worry because some venues have cancelled their comedy nights. And it really suddenly struck me that a lot of time people think there is something called the they, like the magic they. And I guess they would be producers, agents, industry. Those are the magic they. But when you operate at my level, you are the they. And you can be a really good they. You can be them for yourself and you can look after yourself and you can maintain your own website. You can get your own gigs. You can arrange to film your own special. The venue was still going ahead and I was very, very relieved because I had already delayed this show. This show was supposed to go to the Fringe in 2020, but the pandemic stopped it. During the pandemic, the comedy circuit completely shut. Kevin and I are both comedians, so we battened down the hatches, we really reduced our spending, and we also signed up to the ONS survey, Office of National Statistics. We did the COVID test and we got a £25 shopping voucher. I would say something like I'd happily, wee into a cup for a £5, but that sounds like something you'd more find on OnlyFans. On the day, I thought, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to book a hair appointment. I thought I'm going to hire a hairdresser to do me a beehive. And can I tell you, if I learned anything from this experience, it was don't book someone to do a hairstyle that they haven't practiced on you when you've got an important event. I asked for a beehive, I got a hornet's nest. We packed our bags and we drove to the venue nice and early. We didn't actually realise that the ultra low emission zone is in operation 24 hours a day. Isn't that fun? We thought because it was a Sunday we could drive in our little car and not get fined. We got a big fine. So we parked outside the venue and we moved in all the stuff. And by we, I mean me and Kevin. I had makeup, I had different changes of clothing. If you're going to film something, I would highly recommend that you take several different changes of clothing for yourself. Because sometimes when you put the clothing on and you stand there in position, the camera and the lights can do funny things to items of clothing that you wouldn't expect. Like for Noob, I ended up wearing a green sparkly top. My first choice was a white jumper, but when I put the white jumper on, it was so bright and so fizzy. On the camera, I literally looked like a little cube. Or like a little polar bear. Or like a polar bear had swallowed me and my head was sticking out the top. So the way that the show is going to run, Carly's going to go on, she is going to warm up the crowd, and then Sarah's going to go on. She's going to do a 20-minute spot, then we're going to have a break. Then Carly's going to go on, literally 2 minutes, introduce me, and then I'm going to talk for an hour. Dan and Rob were there with all their cameras and we're waiting for the other show to finish. I was in the outside bit of the bar and there was no one around. And you always have that moment of thinking, what if no one turns up? And then everything started to happen in a blur. We went backstage and Kevin went mad with the staple gun. Rob and Dan are setting up the cameras. I moved all my stuff backstage and started changing to do lighting and costume tests in front of the camera.
And also your trousers match the colour of the microphone, so it's got green on it.
Yoga, getaway, and then Italy coffee, sit in the sun, Vesuvius, insurance.
I had a ticket list printed off from ENS24 so I knew who was coming. And what I didn't anticipate is how many we sold on the night. We sold out the venue.
I love that I said that like a game show host and no one gave a fuck, but I tried. I tried my best. Fantastic. So you've travelled from Hertfordshire. Nice to meet you both. And how do you know each other?
Another half.
Your other half. Oh. The better half. Yeah. Oh my God. Do I detect a sexy accent going there? No, I'm not trying to fuck it. Don't worry. Where are you from? Cyprus. Please give me the story, babe. You fucking led. Did you guys meet abroad? No, nothing so sexy. You just meet in Hertfordshire. At the gym. You were right at the car park. Oh my God! If that is a true story, this man is my new hero. He didn't even go in to work out. He sat in the car park, found what he wanted, and as they were leaving the gym, went, "Hi, nice to meet you."
It was really nice having Carly and Sarah back there because I've been so drunk with those women. They are really my friends and they are comedians and they are brilliant. So they managed to just completely warm up the crowd. It was just amazing.
And I do realise there's a lot of couples in here this evening, and talking about divorce, it can make couples a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah, I mean, it's true. I feel like couples look at me now like I've morphed into some sort of crazy divorce whisperer. Yeah, like I'm just randomly going up to happy couples and being like, 1 in 3. I'm not, because it's 1 in 2. Because of the pandemic. But it was.
Hello. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate you spending your time with me. My name's Diane Spencer. Thank you.
Then after the show, I always mill around. And I just met as many people as I possibly could. And we were just talking and taking photos, and it was just so delightful. And everybody told me where they had come from. There were people from the Netherlands, Poland, Russia, Finland, everywhere. And it was the best. And it was worth all the worry. It was worth all the effort. It was really great. Thank you so much for watching my video about how we pieced together the filming of my next stand-up special, which is coming out in November 2022. And the way that we're going to do this is that Kevin and I are going to do a live show. We did these live shows during the pandemic called Ignition. The plan is to do an ignition and launch. So we'll do the live show, Kevin and I will be presenting together, and then at the very end of that live show where you can talk to us, chat to us, ask questions, whatever you like. We might even have a quiz. At the end of the live show, launch will happen and the 9th special, Diane Spencer Slid Off the Turkey, will be live for you to watch on YouTube at your leisure. So I really hope that you will join us and you'll be there for that. Keep an eye out for the date. I will post it on my social media. Until then, take care. I'll see you soon. Bye. When I was having my hair done, the owner of the salon comes over to me and he starts telling me about this show that he's watched at the Edinburgh Fringe. And I'm like, great. And he said, hey, they should film her. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, they're filming you. They should film her. Oh no, I'm filming myself. And he said, oh. And he sort of looked down his nose at me, like somehow because I've done it myself, it's homemade and it was less to him. And I guess my main thought was, fuck.